All right, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started for another CEJA office hour session. There were a couple updates that I wanted to go over, and then we'll open up to Q&A. And then for the second half of the session, we'll walk through how you can update services in the career plan for customers. The first update I wanted to go over is we did have an update for this overnight sync. On the customer progress page. So, on a nightly basis, it looks like around 8 or 9 p.m., we, refresh the data. And so what that means is, if you're making updates to customer records here, you can manually click this to get the latest timestamp and reflection of the data that's been entered for the different sections. But otherwise, yeah, on a nightly basis, we have, kind of, we do have that refresh going. So, as you make changes in the system, on intake, career plan, program completion, if you come back to this progress page, those may not be reflected until, you click this refresh status button or that overnight sync takes place. But taking a look at a few other customers that we have on test, it looks like we do have that in the works. So that fix has been made for production as well, because it was behind or days, weeks in the past, but that's been corrected there. The other update that I wanted to show was in relation to the an update to the pre-screening. Excuse me, where we now have some questions for CEJA. And so I've added this inquiry here that we'll take a look at. And let me just fill out some of these fields here before we get to the new ones that have been added. Okay, so for CEJA, when we get to the question for, or yeah, just below, do you have other barriers to employment? We have 4 questions here with the options yes, no, prefer not to say. Do you have low education attainment? Do you have low literacy level? Do you have low English speaking level? And do you live in a low income household? And these are related to the CEJA eligibility requirements. If yes is selected for one of these 4 questions, then then the customer will be eligible for CEJA. In addition to, excuse me, address, meeting the R3 and EJC eligibility check there. But we do have info bubbles next to each question, just elaborating on what exactly this is, how that item is being defined here. And so let's say yes to some of these. And when we scroll down into our program area, we can see, customer pre-screening results. These 4 are the new ones that have been added for the CEJA programs. And we'll also have them as options in the program selection dropdown as well. And so just wanted to point those out and, give you a heads up as, you're adding customers in the system and you see those new questions in there. Those are for CEJA. And I see, Julie, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. We actually noticed this yesterday. And so a couple questions on it. Obviously, we don't want to ask these questions to the people the way that they're worded. It's like, so my question is like on the first one, do we consider low education attainment whether or not they completed high school? Because if so, then that is what answers that question. I'm just more thinking of from what question we ask them to reach the information we actually want. So that's part of my thought process is that because a low education level is can be defined in a lot of different ways. Eighth grade level, I see that it has on there. But am I supposed to ask them if they have at least an eighth grade level? And this is just me kind of like I know the answers, but I don't know the answers. And the same thing with the low level on the next one. Really, we answer that question based on how they do. All of our students are requested to do CASAS testing. So some of these, those two to me are answered through testing and not through asking them what education level they think they're at. Because we've had students tell us they've graduated high school and then they test at like a fifth grade level.
Hmm.
So I'm just concerned about how those two in particular, how that's going to be defined in terms of, I know you've got the definitions there and I understand that. Um, I just think there may be more now isn't the time, but I think some conversation needs to happen around that and how that is actually approached in talking with the students and how we can legitimately answer those questions.
Yeah, certainly. And we can certainly, update the text of the language. We can, kind of get feedback and
Yeah.
uh, talk
So I
with the
just wanted to
RAs
kind of
on.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of put that out there. And then my other question is, these are directly related to the reporting that we do as well. So are we going to need to in some way update our previous people who've already finished in order for the reporting to work properly? And if so, how do we do that?
If no, these are like a subset of questions based on the do you have barriers to employment? And so the reporting is on this question, do you have barriers to employment? Yes, no. Excuse me. Or prefer not to say.
Okay,
And so the eligibility and everything for workforce hubs, I think
right.
it's
But
mainly is for this one, but these other
the
ones,
reports, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. The reports that we fill out have specifically, is this person part of the low income, or I'm sorry, yeah, are they low income, English literacy? Those are questions that are on the report. Is this point the resource that report is going to use to pull and answer that information?
yeah, Nate maybe speak to that. Sorry, I keep,
Sorry, can you
Uh,
ask the question again, please?
Yes, my question is, these 4 new questions that are on here are on the report that is submitted monthly. Is this the resource that is going to be where the answers to those questions are found for the report purpose? That's the first part of the question. And then the second part is, if this is what's used to answer those questions, do we have to then go back and enter this information somewhere for our students who have already been in the system so that that report comes out properly?
No, these 4 questions are related to the CEJA reporting requirements specifically.
Right. And so that's what I'm asking you. So all of our students that have already been screened, none of these questions are answered for them. So when our report is run through for the CEJA reporting, none of those students are going to be included in the numbers for these particular questions on that report.
Correct.
Okay. And that's
Those
just,
would fall for CEJA programs. These 4 questions fall into the category of other barriers to employment.
okay. Yeah, the report that I see asks the specific questions. So maybe I'm just looking at something different. But what's been provided to me has there's a slot for putting low literacy or low education. Um, that's one of the criteria included on that list. And so I didn't know where the worknet system would pull that information. That's something that I've manually tracked on a spreadsheet in the past.
Yeah, for your CEJA programs, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah.
So
There's a spot that specifically asks for low income level. I'm not
I
familiar.
don't know about the income, but it does ask for education. There's one column that lists education and English all in the same column together on the report.
This
I
is
don't
the
remember
monthly
if the
report.
income is, yes.
Hmm.
Which program?
Are other
Okay,
people's?
I'm going to pull up the one that I have, CEJA Hub reporting data. And so on the page that I'm looking at that I use for mine that has been provided to me, it asks, and maybe this is something that they're using at Lewis and Clark and then translating over onto whatever you have. But my columns under characteristics include incarcerated, legal system, barriers like language or education, foster, and then it goes on from there, but those are the main ones. So this column, language or education, I don't know how the computer is pulling that information. Because I've manually always gone in and filled that out based on their testing scores. And so I didn't know if this new question was supposed to cover that. And that's something you can get back to me on. We don't need to use the whole
Yeah,
time
no,
for that.
I would
Yeah.
like, yeah, Julie, if we can, and Nate and Natasha, if we can, maybe set up another call to go over that with
Okay.
Julie so that we
Yeah.
can have a deeper conversation about that.
Yeah. Because if it's only me that has that issue, I don't need to waste everybody else's time with it. I just wanted to bring that up while we
Sure.
were on the subject because I stumbled onto this yesterday and was working with one of our other staff with this. So, okay, thanks.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
All right, so do we have any other questions about the updates? Or actually with that, we can go ahead and open up to any other questions you might have for the system.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, David. So I know we were going a little back and forth with the follow-up services, and I just wanted to have some clarity on what exactly we're supposed to put there for Climate Works.
Uh,
Last week we had talked about that, and we had just said to enter in like a follow-up, like the service, the start and end date, and then like put notes in there. But we had mentioned, I believe, on the last call that there would probably be some further discussion about like if the details of the different types of follow-up services would need to be, captured in the future. But I don't believe there's been a decision on that. So unless Nate or Diana or anybody has any other guidance, I believe the guidance is still to go ahead and enter in the follow-up service, like your start, planned end date, those sort of things. And if you would like to keep notes of those different things, you can put it in the notes section on that service. I don't know if I see who Nate or Diana or anybody has anything to add to that, or if that answered your question.
Is it possible for the time being if we can just put not required for that status?
Oh, you mean if it's not? Yeah, most definitely. Like if you don't need the follow-up service, you should be able to remove it.
Well, follow-up services are required.
Oh, okay. So sorry.
So when we follow up with these candidates, whatever notes or information we collect, we would enter there.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then I actually have another question. For the progress page, I've noticed that it'll show needs attention for service needs assessment items. That's populating. I don't know if that's something new as well.
Might have to take a look at that. See here. I might have to kind of quickly run through this customer also for our demo purposes in the second half here. But I can update the service needs assessment so that we can see that flag that you're referring to here. Let me quickly do this here. Finish our application. Take here. One. This page. Answer this here. Yes. Almost there here. So is the section you're referring to like this section right here?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so we will go over this here in our demo. Let me just see if there's anything else that I need to do for this customer before we get into our career plan here. Let's go ahead and fill this out. Don't believe that there is. I think we can to our demo here for that. Let's refresh this here. Okay. So, excuse me. So I'm logged in as a ClimateWorks grantee. And we've added this customer into the system. We've completed intake. And then, the next section is to address the services. And in doing that, we'll, on this progress page, we'll be taking a look at, career plan. These are the two services that populated. And we can add, more. And then we'll also be looking at addressing these items here. Based on a service needs assessment, we indicated that this customer is going to need assistance with, first month rent, public transit fare cards, and then food assistance. And so they'll say, attention, but then when we add that to a service and we enter a cost, that cost will pull through here. But we'll go ahead and go to that section now. So to reach the career plan, we can click this tab up here, or at the bottom of the intake page, we can click this button. It'll take us to the same space in the system for that customer. And let's see here. And so this is our plan overview page. I don't think, at least for CEJA, this part, since we're signing the application, as the case manager, I don't believe we really need to do anything right here. But then below, we have, a section for assessments and desired career path, and these are tied to some assessments and also some tools that we have within Illinois WorkNet. So with anyone who has a WorkNet account can complete the career cluster inventory to see what kind of career that they're interested in. If they complete Employment 101, their statuses will pull through here. And this is just this section right here, these three boxes, they appear in all programs within workNet. Just as a placeholder, and then if they in the career wages and trends tool, if they identify some careers and occupation choices and their wage goal, if they enter that there, that'll pull through into this section here, but not required for CEJA, so we don't need any action here. For accomplishments, as credentials are added and services and goals are completed, they will populate in here. And then in the career plan, this is just one way to view the career plan. We can see the services that populated that we saw on the progress page. And then we can see our goals as well for complete training, get a job, again, to registered apprenticeship program. But we'll click this tab here for add steps and services to reach the area where we can add and edit our services. And then on this page, if we scroll down, we see step 1, where we can add services activities. Step 2, after we've added them, we can then assign them to a goal. And then in step 3, we have our goals right here. So we have complete training, get a job, get into a registered apprenticeship program. And for the 2 services that populated, we got pre-apprenticeship training and follow-up services. And let's see here. So let's take a look at, let's see here. So let's add the service. So specifically for the service needs assessment items, we'll go ahead and add a service, and we'll need to add the, let's see, wraparound support services itemized list here. This will be the service that's looking at that we'll need to add to address these items here. So we'll click add. See, it's been added. So in step 1, we found the service and added it. It's now showing in step 2. And then to edit this, we'll click the pencil icon. And on the wraparound support services, the template for this service has the tabs status default, service provider, and dollar value of service. So we'll need to fill out the fields down here. So we'll select it to a goal, and we'll just put complete training. And then the plan start date, say today, and then the plan completion date, say about a month from now. Then the average weekly hours, enter that in here. And for status, we will pick started open. And let's see if we look at this. So currently our customer is an applicant. Once we have a service that is started open and it has a date of today or one in the past, then that customer will automatically update from applicant to enrolled. And it's not tied to a specific service. It's any one service that gets updated to a status of started open. That customer will then be enrolled. And so to save this information on this first tab here, we'll click update customer service. Test and enter in the title of the case note and the case note itself. And then we'll click to add. But we should see, yep, if you see this message here, the provider ID field is required. That is looking at this second tab, service provider. And if we go here, we'll go ahead and select our organization, since we'll be providing these assistance for these in-house. We'll just go ahead and select our organization and click to update the customer service. And then we should see here that the customer service has been updated. And if we go back to our progress page, we should see this status here, update from applicant to enrolled. So our customer is now enrolled in our program. Okay, so we've added the status default tab, the service provider, and a dollar value service. So this is where we can add in these items right here. And so for the items on this page that fall under this section here, we'll need to add a service and cost to it. So we'll click Add Service. And for service type, sorry for going back and forth here. Our first one, public transit fare card. So for service type, we'll select the one that we'll select transportation. And then based on our selection here for service type, the service subtype will then populate with selections that are related to the service type there. So we'll select public transit fare cards, and then we'll select a payment method here. And then the payment start date, we'll say today. Individual payment cost. We'll enter in the number there, number of times offered at this cost. If it's one time, you can just enter it once. But if this is something that we're going to offer multiple times, you can enter 3. For cost estimate, we'll say no this time, and then paid by, we'll select. And then if it's a split payment, and then if you wanted to, you can enter in the invoice number and additional notes here. But we'll go ahead and click Save and see that the system has saved this cost record. Oops. And so we can see that we entered, $50 3 times for a total cost of $150. And we can also see which staff member added this cost in and when. And if we needed to edit this information, we can click this pencil icon and make those changes and click Save. Let's see. So I also want to point out that we have 3 items under the service needs assessment. You don't have to add a second wraparound support services service. You can just continue to add these costs to the same service. So then let's go back here and just take a refresh here. And so then we can see public transit fare cards. We have $150. And we can also add in our one for first month's rent. Let's go ahead and enter this in here. Click Save. If we refresh this again, we'll see the cost get added in here. 1,200, and we'll see the total of the cost under the wraparound service that we're adding, that it's adding up all of these as well. And then our third one was for food assistance, and there's a lot under this section for other. So we'll select food assistance in this case, payment method, payment start date, cost information. We'll select yes for this is a cost estimate. Click Save. And we'll see that that's been added here. And if we go back and refresh this again, we'll see all the cost information has been added, but we are still getting the yellow flag for needs attention. And what that's looking at, if we click this info bubble here, we can see what's the criteria for the flag to be good for green, yellow for needs attention, or if it's gray, it means no action, nothing in the service needs assessment was identified, so we don't need to do anything here. But in this case, needs attention comes up if a service that is needed still needs to be addressed, or a wraparound service with an estimated cost needs to be updated. So we got our costs entered, but if we go to our food assistance one, and we click to edit, we're still getting yellow flag because this was a cost estimate. So if we needed to come back in and maybe it wasn't 401, but actually 425, we can then change this to no for a cost estimate since we have the number here, and we'll click Save to update that. And if we come back over here and refresh the status again, we should see the new cost and that this is now green for good. And so that's how we can work through the items that are identified in the service needs assessment. It's really looking at two things. So one, do we have a wraparound service that has that cost information for that line item? And two, is it a cost estimate? And if it is, then that's just means we need to come back in and make that change when we have that information available. And if we go back to our services here, let me take a look at a couple other ones. So if we open up the pre-apprenticeship training, this has a little bit different template here. We have the status default and service provider tab. Go ahead and make that selection there for service provider. And then we'll enter in the date information for this customer here. I'll say it started. Turn in the weekly hours, and we'll click to update the service here. So once we have that and this service is now started open, we can then update these other tabs. So for training services, we do have the post assessments tab, and we'll need to, and let me show this here. We'll need to enter in a post assessment, because if we try to mark it as successful completion, we'll get a prompt here, the post assessment passing level not met. And so what this is looking at is this post assessments tab over here. And it does need to be an assessment score of 70 or higher. And so to add that in, we'll click add post assessment. Simple. So we'll enter the name of the assessment, the score, and then the date it was taken. And we'll click save. So then we can see that that's been added in here. And then if we try to mark it as successful completion now, we should, we'll see that the service has been updated successfully. But then also with the training services, we have the earn credentials tab. And so we have these CEJA credentials hard coded in there into the system that you can select. We select that. We have a lot of these fields pre-populated for name, credential type, institution, and description, which can be edited accordingly. But then we just need to enter in the credential source from the list of drop-downs here. And then the date, the date the credential was obtained. I'll click save. And we can see that that credential has been added in there. But because we also selected on the service provider tab, the training program that we added, in this case, Maisie's test program. When that training program was added, we also added a credential titled Solar Test. And so because we made the selection over here and saved it, any credentials that were tied to that program that we added populate here. And so when we select this radio button, that information will also pull over, like the previous credential we've just added. And we'll just need to enter in the credential source, the date attained, and we'll click save. We'll see that that gets added. And so we have our two credentials here. And if we needed to make any changes to either of these, we can click view details, make the necessary changes, and click save. Or if we added one by mistake, maybe David did not actually earn the credential for Solar Test, we can click to remove that as well. And if we go back to our progress page, we'll refresh this. This should change here. Yep, and so we can see those two credentials have been added along with the date they were attained, and this is now green for good. And taking a look at this info bubble here, green for good means the credential has been added. Yellow, it just means that the customer completed or withdrew from the program, but the credential was not entered into the system. And then if it's gray, that means, no actions needed. The customer does not have a training service or a credential. And then let's see. So taking a look back at here, we do still have our needs attention over here for the other services that we've added. And if we look at this info bubble, we have currently, so it's yellow. There's at least one service that does not have a start or end date identified. And so what that is looking at is this follow-up services, which currently has planned, not started. But when we update this to started open, and this should change here. And I think because I added this customer today, I won't be able to show for this one a red flag, but a red flag will populate here if, for example, we have this service, let's say this service for wraparound services was started, August 2025, and we said it would end, let's say last week, September 18th. And if we still had the status of started open, this would be a red flag because the system is seeing, the service, we said that it would end by a date last week. So we just need to go back and update that. And then once that's updated, it will, turn to green. And so if we go to our follow-up services, click this, add activities / services here to go back a page. For follow-up services, we'll click the pencil icon, and we can see this just has the status and service provider tabs. So we'll enter our dates here and our average weekly hours. And we'll change this to started open and select our service provider. And we'll leave a case note here. All right, see that's been updated successfully. So again, if we go back to our progress page and click refresh status, then we'll see that this is now good. All of our services have a start and end date. They all have a status of started open, and we're kind of falling within the due dates here. So for the system, this is all good.
Hi, David. Savannah again. I'm sorry. I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
When it comes to a service that's unsuccessfully completed, and let's say we withdraw them from the program, will it still highlight that needs attention on the progress page?
I don't believe it should, but let's take a look here. So if we say, okay, so we'll need a service provider. And we'll say, we'll put in the goal, put in our end dates and weekly hours. But then if we say unsuccessful completion, actually, I'm gonna do a different date here. Put this here. Here, unsuccessful completion. Okay, and if we refresh our progress page. Okay, yeah, so if we do have, unsuccessful completion, the system will show that that's, good as in the sense that it's been addressed. And yeah, regardless of their status, whether they're enrolled, or let's see if we go to our program completion. Yeah, if we enter them as withdrawn, which actually I don't think we'll be able to because we have a couple services. Oh, I'm mixing up my programs here. Case note. Okay, so then yeah, if they are withdrawn, we've got a service as unsuccessful completion, then yeah, we're still getting the green flag over here.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see, I do see a question in the chat. Let's see. So when a navigator is doing a pre-screen application, should we be doing the career assessment and needs assessments, or should the providers be doing those with the applicants once they are enrolled? I believe that might depend on the workflow, but I'll go ahead and Nate or the RAs if I don't know if Michelle or Larry are on, if you'd like to add anything to that question for Heidi's question in the chat there. Nate, if you're talking, you're on mute.
Yeah, David, I think in general, navigators have access to a certain point, right?
Right. They do. Yeah, they would see the customers, the sections on this intake tab here for career assessment and service needs assessment.
Okay, so then, yeah, it would depend on the workflow that's set up with the primary grantee and the sub grantees and navigators.
Yeah, I think in general, many of the navigators are doing that full slate of assessments up, getting them up through the application. But I agree, there may be different workflows set up to do it.
Yep.
Sorry, I couldn't find the question in the chat, but I see it now.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Are there any other questions, in general, or anything about adding and updating services in CEJA? Questions about anything else in CEJA or anything you'd like for us to go over in the last 10, 15 minutes or so?
I just want to ask David, did we ever schedule the one-on-ones with the agency between you guys and the agencies, or were we waiting on that? Or I'm sorry if I missed it.
I'm
I know
still. Or go ahead.
Candace was reaching out to various groups. I'm not sure. I can work with her and see where we are in the schedule of working out for the one-on-ones. And so I'm sorry, which agency were you with?
I'm with CAIC,
CAIC.
the Calumet Area Industrial Commission.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll take a look, Jacob, and see where we are with Calumet and reach out and set up as needed.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Are there any other questions, or Nate and Diane, is there anything you'd
David,
like
I have a
to?
question. This is
Okay.
Jenny with UCM. Is it possible for us to get a list of all of the different sites and the locations, and then who to contact when we do need to transfer off people and the dates of the next upcoming cohorts?
So we do have a cohort report that is, and well, available, but we're making some updates to it. So I know the the grantees are entering their work plans in their cohorts. So as far as one being generated from the system, that's in process, but I'll leave it up to the CEJA team, RAs, Diana. Do you have a list of that information that they could have right now, or while people are entering that information into the system while they wait?
Yeah, I don't think we have a full list. That's why we've asked for it to be placed into the system, because we ourselves need that list of cohort information. We can provide, and the regional administrator can also provide the information for, the basic information of local hubs and training programs, where they're at. But we're needing the information from you all as to what cohort is being offered when it starts, when it ends, how many seats are available, all of that.
Yeah, because we're signing up people when we go out, and some of those people are not local to our area. So it's kind of making it difficult, especially on my end, to figure out like where to put them at, and then to give them more information about like who to contact and when they're going to start.
Do you want a hard copy of that information, or do you?
A digital copy is just fine. I don't need a hard
Okay,
copy.
I was gonna say.
Digital copy is just fine. I'm good with that because I realized that like I know a lot of the cohorts, the dates and times changes and stuff like that. So that's fine. I just want to be able to direct the people to go somewhere where they can find that information as well. So that way it's not just like, oh, somebody's gonna get back to you shortly.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I just wanted to remind folks, we do have the contact information for a good number of the grantees on our website. The programs awarded section there should have some contact information. Your RAs should be able to kind of make introductions, because obviously we don't want to just like point folks somewhere, and to the extent possible, we want to be able to make a call or an email or something to say, hey, I'm working with a student who needs ABC and is looking for training, and what kind of courses do you have coming up, that kind of thing. Definitely echo that in order to get down to that cohort level, we kind of need the reporting system to do that for us. But just in terms of general contact, our existing website does have some contact information there. We can make introductions, and then I think the new website will have well, I think at some point, right, the new website will have all that information on there too.
Yeah, right now the new website has, I think it has the grantee name. I think it has the training location. So right now there's two resources that you can utilize. You can utilize the DCEO CEJA page that has, as Nate mentioned, the list of awardees. That's pretty comprehensive for all of DCEO CEJA grants. And then there's the new website that is really just a rough draft, still under development, but it does have it. David, I don't know if you can bring that website up real quick for us and show the grantees what that looks like, so that they can see that they have that as a resource right now too.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the, and let me send this, send to the chat here, this link to the website I got pulled up. And we will be making updates to it. I think there was a couple emails while I was out there. I need to update some information, but in the menu under here, if you click the menu, and then under workers, we have links to clean jobs, energy transition navigators, and climate works programs. And on each page, at the moment, we have it's set up so we'll still need to fill in some of this information, but we have the name of the grantee, location, the name, email address, and phone number for the point of contacts. So this
Yeah.
is the, yeah.
Thanks, David. So, so you'll find for each program, as he's showing, the contact information that each grantee informed us they would like listed on the website as the point of contact for anybody interested. Does that help, Julie?
I'm Jenny, but
Jenny,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah, it helps a little bit, but I'm like, cause like I reached out to one of the Illinois groups, and I'm like, I still haven't heard back, so I'm just like, yeah, I was just hoping that we had like a more streamlined system, so it could be a little bit more fluid in our communications.
Yeah, we're trying to, like we said, we're trying to add the cohort report so that we do have more up-to-date detailed information like that. At this point, this is kind of the best we have until that cohort report is complete and available to all of us. We feel you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
hmm I would also add, Jenny, definitely to Nate's point, reach out to your local RA and utilize them too to try to help you with any connections or further information so that you're not just kind of sending off, a referral or a potential inquirant into an abyss, essentially.
No, I did, and I also got the person's personal cell phone, so I'm waiting to hear back from that person to see if they, before I go back to the person that referred me over to
Okay.
them.
Well, this is great feedback. I really appreciate you sharing this experience with us so we can continue to streamline this process for everybody.
My pleasure. Thank you guys so much for everything.
Thanks, David. Thanks,
Yeah.
Nate.
Thank you. I just got a few more minutes left. Don't know if there's any other questions or anything to share with the group.
I don't have any other items to share, but I appreciate everybody's continued hard work. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.
All right. If there's
Yes,
nothing else, we'll
thank
go
you.
ahead and close out and get this recording posted to the partner guide. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, David,
Yeah.
there is a request in the chat to post the link. I'm not sure if Jacob's still on the call.
Yeah, that link right there that you got. I'm finding it hard to find that page.
Which one? Is
Oh,
it the Illinois
The,
work or?
this not the CEJA page, this specific CEJA page that you're looking at.
Okay.
yeah. So if you're on the page now and you click the menu,
Yeah, it doesn't come up like that for me. Can you add that? Just put this link in the chat.
yeah. Let me just add the links to the different pages. I'll have to take a look. It might be something that needs to get published here. So let's see, workforce hubs. Works. Filters. All right, so yes. Climate warriors and then navigators. Okay. Okay, so just added those links in the chat directly to each of those pages there.
Excellent. Thanks, David.
Yeah,
Jacob, if
thank you.
you
I
have
got it.
further issues. Oh, perfect. Okay.
All
Great.
right, thanks a lot.
Thanks. Take
Yeah.
care.
You too. Thanks.